It's time for the Kim Hammer Show, where you'll learn how your state government affects you, your family, and community. Here's Kim Hammer.
Good Saturday afternoon. Happy New Year to you, the first Saturday of the year. Thank you for joining me on the Kim Hammer Show today. We've got a good show lined up. We've got Senator Hickey from Texarkana on, who is the Senate Pro Tem-elect for the Senate end of the chamber. And then in the second half of the hour, we're going to have Doyle Webb, who is the former state chairman for the Republican Party of Arkansas. And we're going to talk about what he's doing in life now, but also talk about the election that's coming up this next Tuesday in Georgia, how you can play a part and how significant it is. A little bit of an adjustment today. If you're watching Facebook Live, you don't see me in the chair. You should see my stand-in President Trump, who I still wholeheartedly support and believe in the miracle. Unfortunately, I've been in very close contact with somebody that we found out this morning tested positive, and so I'm trying to exercise good caution and respect for the staff there at the radio station to make sure that they stay safe. I tested negative, went ahead and got tested, but all is well for me. But just out of respect for the staff there at the radio station, we're going to be self-quarantined for a few days. On the line with me, calling in from Texarkana, is a good friend of mine, Senator Jim Hickey, state senator from down in the Texarkana area. As I mentioned a minute ago, he is the Senate Pro Tem-elect. He's going to take the helm for the Senate this next 2 years. And I want to talk a little bit about what we're going to be doing in the session coming up. I do want to thank sponsors of the Kim Hammer Show, which would be Edwards Food Store here in Central Arkansas, over in East Arkansas. Provide great service to the community with their clean stores, competitive prices. They've got everything you would need in the way of any supplies regarding to your grocery store needs in your home, and they can take care of you. They got pharmacies. They've got great meat selection. They got a great produce section. They got a great deli bar. Again, went in this morning, got breakfast for my wife. And so anyway, just a great place to shop. And then also Baxley, Penfield, Mounty Real Estate for your real estate needs in Central Arkansas, whether it be commercial or residential. They can take care of you in every aspect, both rental and purchasing or selling. They're your one-stop, does it all for all your real estate needs. So I encourage you to give them a call here in Central Arkansas, located down in Saline County at Spring Hill and Highway 5. Tom will take good care of you there along with all of his staff. On the line joining us is Senator Jim Hickey. And Senator Hickey, thank you for taking time out on this New Year's Day or New Year's Eve weekend to join me on the Kim Hammer Show.
Hey, Senator Hammer, how are you today?
Doing great. Hope I didn't pull you out of the woods, or maybe I took you away from Denise and the honeydew list she's got for you. Not sure what you're doing, but I appreciate you taking time being on the show today.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you having me.
So first of all, tell the folks, if you will, what possessed you to want to run for the Pro Tem position, and then talk a little bit about what the duties of the Pro Tem does, just so that they've got an idea of some of the responsibilities that you'll have for the next 2 years.
Well, I guess it's always hard to say what my reasoning was. It's kind of like running for the Senate. I guess there was just a massive internal pull that made me think that I needed to run for that position. And of course, you all, as my Senate colleagues, were respectful enough and to allow me to do this. So I believe as politicians, sometimes, we kind of get a bad rap. A lot of people in the public out there, you always hear the statement, that all politicians are corrupt. And that's just definitely not the case, especially as it relates to you all, you included, Senator Hammer, my colleagues in the Senate. That group of people, they can be a salty little group. However, I've never seen a group of people that care about Arkansas as much as they do, and I want to be the person that exemplifies that within our Senate body.
Well, and I've had this discussion before. There's a lot of iron sharpening iron that goes on either on the Senate end or on the House end, either one. But that within itself is not a bad thing. I think we all need to agree on certain points, and as conservatives, especially, there are certain points we need to agree on. But at the same time, the ability to have some straightforward conversations, even if we disagree with each other, and still be able to get the business done. I know, as being the leader on the Senate end, that can present some challenges within itself, because being in the middle when you have maybe pockets of groups of individuals, even within 35 members of the Senate, cannot be, an easy thing when you're trying to get something done. What do you feel are some of the challenges that we're going to be facing as a Senate this time around, especially given the COVID situation, that are going to present some challenges for you as a leader?
Well, and you're right. Of course, within the challenges within the, with the membership and everybody having different opinions, that part I've learned throughout my life, as long as everybody's respectful and just understands that's the best course of action, and that's how we will, find a balance and get to the end. You are right about the COVID. That has been, for probably about the last 4 to 5 months. Of course, you all have put me in as a pro tem-elect. I didn't want to overstep my bounds with the current Senator Hendren, who is the pro tem, because it is still his time. And so what I had done is I went to working on this upcoming session, to try to make sure that we have a safe environment for our staff, the public, and the members. And I kind of jokingly, whenever I started this with staff, like I say, 4 to 5 months ago, I said, well, I know I'm starting this way early, but at least we'll have it done. Last week, I literally had told one of the head staff members down there, I said, my goodness, we did not start any minute too soon. And she said, no, we did not, because we have literally just had to think about every angle to make this session work and to keep everybody safe. And I've kind of jokingly said that we are literally trying to put a square peg into a round hole, having a legislative session, which runs totally contrary to the social distancing that, we've been preaching. But we have a good plan. It's going to work out. And I think after everybody kind of settles in after a week or two, they may find that it may even be more beneficial to them and the public.
With regards to what the plan is, because, some of the concerns that people always have, and just looking at the past, typically, especially if it's a controversial bill, not only will the whole Capitol be packed with individuals, but those committee rooms are packed with individuals as well. And I don't, my understanding, we're not going to be able to do it business the same old way, but we want to make sure that the public knows they have access to their legislators, but they also have an access or ability to have their voice heard. What are some of the things that have been done that can assure public press, anybody that's interested in being able to be involved in the process, have been done? Can you kind of lay out the landscape of how it's going to look?
Sure, and happy to do that. And you're 100% correct. Whenever we first started this, myself and Speaker Shepherd, which is the House leadership, down on the House end, our two things that we said is that we wanted to make sure that the public was going to be able to be involved, and the safety issue that we had currently discussed. So we started with those two items to get to where we're at. And it is going to look somewhat different as far as the way we do things. We have worked with the Secretary of State's office also. We will be doing screening, as the public comes into the building, and also screening for the members and the other constitutional offices, of course, that are within the Capitol. Whenever I say screening, temperature check, and just asking those questions, about whether someone has had those symptoms or not. I have kind of asked, and Speaker Shepherd has, along with me, with the Secretary of State, that and we've got to define this 100%, but that we are having like a restricted business session. So in other words, during this session, the public's going to be allowed to come in. They just cannot, get into the halls like we normally do. But what we have done is we're also putting up chairs like in the halls that'll be socially distanced, so that members of the public, if they don't have something that's in a committee room, so that they'll have a place to go, so that they can text their legislator, get a hold of them, meet in their office, whatever they need to do. As far as the committee meetings go, what we're going to do is the committee rooms will be different this year. The Senate, since we are a little bit smaller body, we will be utilizing the rooms that are in the Capitol. The House will be utilizing our larger committee rooms, which Senator Hammer, are located in what we call Big Mac, which is right across the street. And what we've done is set up a process that, as normal, if somebody files a bill right now, that automatically goes on the website so that the public knows that there's something coming up and something of an issue, whether or not, it's of an interest to them. If they decide that they want to come down, what we've also done, since we cannot get everybody in the committee room and do our social distancing, is we've set up separate rooms, which are close to the committee rooms for people who are going to provide testimony, so that we'll have that additional seating capacity. What we've also done is we have set up large TV screens within those what I call the bullpen rooms, those holding rooms, so that it'll be able to live stream with what's going on in the committee room, so that everybody will know what testimony's been given, so that it's just like they're in there. As those individuals are going to testify, for or against a bill, or to provide their comment, we will have staff to bring them in so that they can be at the end of the table, just like we always have, so that they are personally present. Also have space that's going to be set up for the media. Media is going to be very important for us this time, because that way, they can provide as much input to the community as needed also. So that's kind of the way that is. Also, as far as the members presenting bills, what normally happens is if somebody, once they file the bill, it's just whenever that member wants to present it. And that's not going to happen that way this year. What we're going to do is, once that bill goes on that agenda that I was talking about, that it's sitting there, that the public has had a chance to read it, see what's going on, the minimum amount of time that it can sit on there is like 18 hours. From that point, the member who has filed that bill, or the person who is going to present the bill, they will have to get with the chair of that committee, and then that chair will actually schedule a time for that bill to be heard. The reason that we're doing that is to provide the public with a certain time that it will be presented, so that they don't have to try to come down to the Capitol and worry about a bill being presented that they have an issue with, or that they want to be in support of, so that they have to keep coming in. They will know exactly when the bill will be presented. If the member were to not present it, what that bill will do is it'll go all the way back to that other agenda that I was talking about, and then that member would have to reschedule it with the chair and wait another 18 hours before it could be heard again, so that we have plenty of time to notify the public. Now, to try to help things move along, we've also developed what's going to be called a consent agenda, where bills that are supposed to be non-controversial, technical correction type stuff, which, as Senator Hammer, we have a lot of, those type bills will go on that consent agenda. If, however, one member were to object that shouldn't be on the consent agenda, then it'll go all the way back to that other agenda I'm talking about, and then we'll have to put it in the process. So I know that's a lot of information, and there's a whole lot more that goes with it, but like I say, I literally have 9 pages of safety and how we're going to do this particular session, which we're going to go over on opening day to make sure all the members fully understand it. The chairs have also already had training as far as from the Senate side.
And I think one thing you said that's important for people to understand, and that is, and in some ways COVID has forced us to think about things and maybe bring about some changes that have been talked about, but we've never, taken the initiative to do. One being what you mentioned as far as it getting on the schedule, the agenda in the committee, because I know a lot of times people will drive in for a particular bill that, is controversial, or that they really want to be there to have their voice heard. And then they show up and, at the call of the chair, maybe, the committee meeting runs long, and that bill doesn't get heard, or the sponsor chooses not to run it that day, which can be really frustrating to people when they drive in, especially when they come from the four corners of the state. So I think that one particular feature alone is, whether we're in COVID or not, is a good thing to consider moving forward. That way we respect people's time. One thing, too, that I think is beneficial, and you hit on it a while ago, but just to try to reemphasize it, because if people don't feel comfortable coming into the Capitol, all the committee meetings, are there any committee meetings that are not going to be live streamed to where people can watch them at home?
I believe as far as the live stream that all those should, the way that we have them scheduled also is going to provide that, like, of course, as you're carrying public retirement this time, I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah. Thanks for Monday morning, 9 o'clock, by the way, on that one. I saw the schedule where you put me. So that'll be a real lively, happy crowd at Monday morning, 9 o'clock on retirement. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, I think I'm serving on that committee with you, so you can't throw too many rocks at me.
Yeah. We'll make sure the coffee's on. But go ahead. You were saying about live stream.
Yes, we should have all that set up so that all that'll flow good, so that the public will be able to. And in addition, like I say, we're going to have the direct feeds for the people that do want to come in and participate as normal, straight into those holding rooms also. So that direct feed's going to be a large thing, and we put a lot of time into doing that. Of course, whenever we're in the Senate chambers, of course, and Senator Hendren was instrumental in putting that on. We do have live streaming already that we've had for a couple of 2 or 3 years on that.
Okay. The membership, as far as the voting, and a disclaimer, I found out an hour ago that I've been in very, very close contact with somebody that tested positive for COVID. So I'm doing my radio show from my home office because I'm now quarantined till next Thursday. How is it that members who test positive for COVID or get quarantined, what's going to be the process for them as far as how they can vote and they can stay involved? Because, citizens want us involved because we're elected by our, constituents, and we represent the closest level of government to the people. So people are going to want to know, in spite of whatever our inconveniences or limitations are, that we're still going to be able to have a voice in the process. How is that going to play out if a member gets quarantined and still be able to be actively involved in the process?
Well, this year we are doing something different as it relates to that, and it was based on COVID, and that's included in that 9 pages of procedures that we have. If a member is quarantined, has COVID, or if they even have if they're a caregiver, to someone that's susceptible to COVID, then what we're doing as far as the committee rooms is we are allowing for that member to participate remotely. Now, we've got it set up so that you'd have to do it, such as a Zoom or something like that, so that you would be able to be seen and heard. There's some constitutional things out there also that we've had to consider, because the Constitution, states that, and I can't remember the exact words on that, but that the Capitol right there at Little Rock, is the seat of government. So, we had to take that into effect. All our attorneys up there have looked at all of that, believe that we're well within those bounds of doing this, and that's the way we're going to be. That's the way we're going to be having that. So, in your case today, if we were having a committee meeting today, you would be participating and you'd be voting just as you normally would if you were sitting there face to face. It's not the best course of action. We've already figured this out from some committee meetings that we've had and some other things here in the off season. It's not as good as being face to face, but we're just doing what we have to do with this pandemic.
All right. The number of bills coming in. I know as leadership, one thing y'all have tried to get us members to be mindful of is the attitude going into the session as leadership between you and Speaker Shepherd. What is your attitude about the session as a whole with regards to the time frame, the handling of the volume of the bills that are coming in? What are you trying to capture as far as the Speaker Pro Tem with regards to the tempo and the structure of the session?
Well, and I can't speak for Speaker Shepherd other than, comments like that I've heard him make is the first and foremost is we want to make sure that we get things right. And that is kind of a pet peeve of mine, I guess, for a lack of a better word. In the past, I think, sometimes we've made the comment, well, if we have something wrong in a bill or something like we can always fix it the next session. And that is true. However, I believe that, and one of my goals is that we always strive to make sure it's perfect on the first go around before we actually pass it. So that being said, as you know, Senator Hammer, after we're all down there together, we may be kind of like a family, but it's kind of like whenever you have relatives that come in from out of town, after you're there with each other for about 100 days, we kind of start getting a little raw with each other. So I try, as far as my goal as pro tem, it's to move us along, but by the same token, to make sure that we get all of our work done. We have a constitutional responsibility to do that. Our constituents expect that. It's my goal to make sure that gets done. This COVID is it's another issue that we have to deal with. If we were to get a bunch of members that were quarantined and couldn't physically be there, Speaker Shepherd and I have spoken, we would just have to kind of look at that on the run and, we might have to do something different for a few days. But that's okay. We're going to make it work and, do what we can to have a successful session.
Very good. With regards to the committee assignment of the 93rd General Assembly, the committee rooms, where everything is, that's posted up on the website, is it not? I was looking for it a minute ago. Do we have that posted up on the website?
Well, actually, I worked on that a little more this weekend, but everything will be posted. And in addition to that, those holding rooms that I was telling you about, those will be posted, and we're also going to have staff available, which is going to direct people, not signage and staff, additional staff, which will be directing people to those rooms, and then also whenever they need to testify from those holding rooms back to the committee rooms themselves. So we will have that where it's lined out where it will not be confusing for anybody.
Okay, very good. I think the one thing in closing this segment out, we want to make sure to stress to the citizen is that the business will be conducted, and as Senator Hickey said, it'll be done in a manner in which we know that it's going to be handled right. It's going to be given the time it needs in order to make sure it gets handled right, and that your safety will be protected, both of yours and of the legislative branch, which needs to function in order to get the business done, and that the Capitol will be well staffed. One thing you always want to do is make sure if you plan on coming to the Capitol to arrive early because of the parking situation, number one. But number two, and this is one thing we mentioned, we kind of hit on, as far as the entrances to the Capitol that the public will have the ability to go through. Is it going to be under the tunnel or on both the east and the west side, or what did y'all work out as far as the entry point for the public to come into the Capitol?
The public access will be where the tunnel is. Of course, we have the state police there where they have the metal detector, and right across the hall on the other side also. So the public will be able to access from that side. Senate and all the staff and constitutional officers, they can come through those doors also, or they can come through the other ends. They will have to be tested also. As far as access from the basement, that will not be allowed anymore as far as coming in. people that have already been tested could possibly go out that way, but there won't be any entrance from the basement.
Okay. So for the general public, y'all need to know we're going to enter through the east or the west doors. That'd be the downtown Little Rock side, or on the Texarkana side of the Capitol that you can come through. Expect to go through the metal detector. Take time to get tested, both for your temperature, get your colored band for the day to show that you have been through the process. If you want to get some more details as far as the bills that have been filed, you can go up to the state website for the Arkansas State Legislature, which is www.arcleg.state.ar.us. And if you pull that up, you can read across the menu bar across the top and find where the bills are, go through and see the bills that have been filed so far. My guest for this half hour has been Senator Jim Hickey from Texarkana. He is the pro tem elect that'll be taking the helm when we come into session in January 11th. And appreciate you being on the show today, Jim, and look forward to seeing you on January 11th.
Senator Hammer, I greatly appreciate you, and I look forward to the next 3 or 4 months that we're together. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Sponsors of the Kim Hammer Show today are Edwards Food Store here in Central Arkansas and over in East Arkansas. Also, Baxley Penfield Mounty Real Estate for all your real estate needs here in Central Arkansas. Whether it be residential or commercial, you have property that you want to rent or you're looking for a property to rent. They can take care of all your needs. When we come back after the break, I have Doyle Webb, who is the former Arkansas State Chairman for the Republican Party of Arkansas for 12 years, done an outstanding job. And guess what? He hasn't quit working. He is still working, and we'll visit with him when we come back after the break to the Kim Hammer Show.
Come show the state that Arkansas is pro-life at Arkansas Right to Life's 43rd Annual March for Life, Sunday, January 17th, 2021, 2 p.m. West Capitol and Wolf Streets in Little Rock, behind the state capitol. Churches and families are encouraged to attend this peaceful and prayerful observance of the Roe v. Wade decision that legalized abortion in our nation 48 years ago. To volunteer or for more information, call 501-663-4237. The Heart of Arkansas beats for life.
The Bible says all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. I'm Keith Harris, minister for the Windsong Church of Christ in North Little Rock. The church is located at 3 Windsong Drive near the Mall Mill exit. Jesus said whoever believes and is baptized will be saved. If you want to be saved, experience newness of life, and find true joy, we invite you to visit Windsong. We'd love to visit with you and help you discover new life in Jesus.
Parents, are you happy with your children's at-home high school experience? Wondering if you're doing all you can to prepare them for the next step in their life? Check out Salem Career Hub online at salemcareerhub.com. Whether it's college prep school, a 4-year university, an MBA, or learning real-world vocational skills needed to start a career, get connected with top-ranked online schools and leading skills-based short-term training programs like full-stack software development from the co-founder of Apple, Steve Wozniak, to online XR programs, teaching hands-on vocational courses for HVAC, welding, plumbing, facilities management, electricians, solar, and more, all at a special reduced Salem Career Hub price. Better your child's life through education. Our team of educational experts are available to help you Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Central Time. Just call 866-711-6275, 866-711-6275, or online at salemcareerhub.com.
I grew up poor, which is even worse than being poor.
From poor to CEO, the incredible journey of Herman Cain.
My American dream entailed working hard and making $20,000 a year. But I surpassed that goal and became a corporate CEO.
The story of one man's amazing journey from a poor, undereducated family to the highest levels of corporate, social, and political America.
I didn't have to be taught work ethic. I saw it firsthand, and it had a big impression on me.
From poor to CEO, the amazing true story of the American dream that will inspire and motivate you and your family to live your best life.
We'll all be able to say, free at last!
See the movie, From Poor to CEO, The Incredible Journey of Herman Cain, available at salemnow.com.
Get 20% off with promo code Little Rock. That's salemnow.com, promo code Little Rock.
Welcome back to the Kim Hammer Show on this first Saturday of the new year. We're off to a great start. Had a great guest this morning, or first half of the hour. That would be Jim Hickey, Senator from Texarkana, who is Senate-elect pro tem, be taking the helm of the Senate January 11th when we all get sworn in. And then this half hour, I've got Doyle Webb, who is the former state director for the Republican Party of the state of Arkansas. I want to thank the sponsors that make the Kim Hammer Show possible, which is Edwards Food Store here in Central Arkansas, also in Eastern Arkansas and Baxley, Penfield, Mouty. One thing I want to do is just encourage you to maintain or to follow the Kim Hammer Show website. It's at www.thekimhammershow.com, and you can go up to the website there. We keep most pertinent, relevant, and up-to-date information on there and things that you may be interested in. And so I encourage you to follow that and get your friends to follow it as well. This half hour, Doyle Webb, who's former state chairman for the Republican Party of Arkansas, but don't let that title confuse you. That doesn't mean that he retired. If anything, I think he hit the afterburner and he's just doubled the time and doubled the space at which he's moving. So, Doyle, I thank you for taking some time out on Saturday to be on the Kim Hammer Show.
Hey, Senator, I am very honored to be on your show, and you're exactly right. I've got the afterburner going. I've got the warp drive in, and we are still moving forward.
Well, you had a very exciting morning this morning, didn't you?
Absolutely. Good. Had a good morning this morning. Absolutely.
You may have heard on the front end, I've gotten quarantined till next Wednesday. I was in close proximity to somebody that tested positive for COVID. I tested this morning. I'm negative, but I'm self-quarantined till next Wednesday. Wasn't able to be at the event. Wasn't it this morning that Barbara got sworn in, or was that yesterday? When was that?
Excuse me. It was yesterday at noon. Actually at 2:00 yesterday on January the 1st, my wife, who was elected to the state Supreme Court back last March, she did not have a runoff, was sworn in the Supreme Court chamber by Associate Justice Rhonda Wood. And we had some of her staff, my staff, and just a few close friends because of the virus. But it was an exciting time, and she is ready to go to work.
Well, it's an exciting time for the Webb family and also for the state of Arkansas. We're blessed to have her sitting where she's sitting. We know that she will do right, and she'll follow the law, and she won't be making law from the bench. So I'm glad to know that she's sitting there and proud that she's part of the Arkansas Supreme Court.
That's exactly right. I appreciate you.
Well, appreciate your years of service for the Republican Party of Arkansas. We are where we are because of your leadership. I want to give you credit for that. But that doesn't mean now that you're done serving. So just kind of tell people what you're doing now, because I think they'd be pleased and proud to know what you're involved with now.
Well, certainly I am helping our new chairwoman, John L. Fulmer. Whoever had been elected, I pledged to make sure there was a smooth transition and to continue working with them so that our donors and our grassroots would feel comfortable. And certainly they've got new vision. She has a new vision for the party that will help expand the party and work with the grassroots. Myself, I am running for co-chairman of the Republican National Committee. We have a chairwoman, Ronna McDaniel, who is seeking re-election without opposition. And we have our co-chair, Tommy Hicks, who is running for re-election, but three of us are running also for that position. And the committee itself, the 168 members of the Republican National Committee, will vote on that race next Friday. The RNC meets in Florida. And whoever receives the majority will be the new co-chairman of the Republican National Committee. It'd be a great adventure for me. It would give me the ability to visit many of our blue states and purple states and see if I can't spread the Arkansas success story to some of them and give them some hope. And let's change some of these states to purple to red like we have done so in Arkansas.
So from any organization or entity that has any credibility behind it, where do we rank as far as conservatism among the 50 states?
I would certainly, Senator, get some argument from my fellow states, but I argue that we are the reddest state in the union. Idaho argues that they're redder than we are, And I argue back, well, that sounds good, but you only have one or two congressmen, and we have four Republican congressmen, so, and two United States senators. So we have clearly come the reddest, the quickest of any state in the union, and I would submit that we are the reddest state in the union, which is to the credit of the people of Arkansas.
And I think that does speak to what the citizens, the majority of the citizens, expect out of their, elected officials at any level, whether it be all 7 of the constitutional officers or, all 6 of the, congressional officers, or even right down to the JP and the city level, because it seems like we've made some pretty good strides, at the grassroots base when it comes to, even considering aldermen or JPs or, and I know some of these are bipartisan positions, but you can kind of tell by the decisions that people make, regardless whatever letter they have behind their name, where they align with the core values. But it would seem like at the base, we've got a strong base that everything else is resting on.
Absolutely, Senator. We have, I would tell you that we have over 60% of all partisan offices in Arkansas are now Republican. Over 400 of the justices of the peace who sit on the quorum courts are now Republican. That's out of about 700 JPs or less than that. We have a nice bench of Republican JPs. As you recall, I was a Republican JP back in 86 through 92 in Saline County, the first Republican elected down here. But I think the proof is in the pudding. I think y'all are doing good work at the legislature, and I think as you continue the good conservative work, it will verify to the public that they voted right when they voted Republican, and that they have delivered to the people of Arkansas the government that they want. And that's a conservative, efficient, effective, pro-life, pro-Constitution government. And I'm proud of that.
And speaking of pro-life, you've kind of gotten involved in the pro-life movement as well now that you finished your chairmanship. Is that correct?
That's correct. I have agreed to serve on at least at this point, the advisory board of Arkansas Right to Life, and to help them raise funds, which are very needed in their advocacy of right to life issues. Rose Mims does a great job, but she needs all of our help in that. And of course, as you know, I have always been pro-life and voted pro-life. I just didn't have the time when I was state chairman to dedicate as much time as I thought was needed to that cause.
Well, and recently we were acknowledged as being the #1 pro-life state in the nation, which we've been battling at the top, but after years of work and dedication on the part of Right to Life and some other key leadership, we've gotten there at the top. But just because you're at the top doesn't mean you get to stay at the top. It takes work to stay at the top. Just on that level, what do you see as far as some of the things that need to be getting done now that we've been recognized as #1? What else is there to do that you see that we need to do as a state to maybe take it a little further?
Yeah, I can certainly see us passing legislation that could make its way up to the Supreme Court and would give the occasion for the United States Supreme Court to revisit and reverse Roe versus Wade. I think that's something that Arkansas could do because of its strong pro-life position in that regard. When I was in the Senate, Senator, we passed the first piece of pro-life legislation, and that was a ban on partial birth abortion, which was later overturned by the federal courts in Little Rock. Then I think y'all came back later and repassed it or passed something new, and it was affirmed, and y'all have just taken the pro-life position to the ultimate, to the mountaintop, and I appreciate that, because there was a time in Arkansas's history, and not too far back, I'm talking back in the 90s, in which we were very pro-choice in our legislation in Arkansas. And so we have made a definite turnaround in the state. And I'm proud that y'all have been a part of that. And I'm proud the Republican Party has led the way on that.
I was going to say that's one thing of a distinction. Back in the 90s, this was not a Republican conservative state. This was controlled by the Democrats and by the liberals. And I think there's a direct correlation between how you get labeled as conservative based on the legislation that you're able to pass. And, that's a positive reflection on folks that elect us to put us up there, because when they elect us to put us up there to represent those conservative values, such as pro-life, then I think you're representing the interest of the people. And side note, I think the interest of God.
Senator, let me throw in, just for context for people, when I was in the Senate from 95 to 2002, there were 7 Republicans out and 28 Democrats out of the 35. Today, or when y'all convene in January, there will be 28 Republicans and 7 Democrats when you convene for the United States Senate. For the Arkansas Senate. So I think that speaks volumes for what we've been able to do as conservatives, as pro-life politicians.
Well, one thing I think the general public needs to know, and even thinking back to when I first came into office back in 2001 and 2010, 2011, you think you can come up here and change things on a dime, and you're going to be able to just come in and be the real difference maker all in one quick shot, and it don't work that way. The changes that we're talking about to become a number 1 pro-life state has occurred over years, and just as quickly it could erode too if we don't, keep the people that are like-minded in office to protect those things. Because I know there are also bills that are introduced that are intending to take away, those values that we hold dear. It's as much about playing defense as it is playing offense.
Absolutely. Good point.
So let me shift gears on you a little bit, because we're talking about what you can do as a conservative state. So there's a lot on the table down in Georgia with the 2 Senate seats that are up for grab. And I don't know if you feel, comfortable responding to this. If you don't, that's okay, because you didn't know what I was going to talk to you about 100% on the show today.
That's right.
But high level of accusation of fraud, there seems to be things coming out. Part of what the media has not done to give credit or to help is, whenever they're out putting out fake news themselves, and then all of a sudden you start getting all these reports on social media, and you see these, like somebody taking a drive out of a computer or a box taken out of the room, it's photoshopped, or is it real? The fake media certainly hasn't done anything to bring a level of stability as far as knowing what's truth and what's not. What can you share that you know of, if anything, that gives any credibility to the fraud that has been proposed to be out in these states that are, highly contested, and especially Georgia, which is, the last frontier?
Right. Well, let me say this, and we should have confidence that we have lawyers and individuals in the field that are working to thwart and stop the fraud, okay? The key that we should be doing is getting the vote out, okay? I would submit to you that in every election, there is a certain amount of fraud, okay, in every election. Now, some of it is not that wide and not that voluminous, but there's a little bit of fraud or a little bit of mistake or other issues in every election. But what's happening here, or what they're attempting to do, is to keep our forces from going out and voting by suggesting, well, the fraud, you're going to get defeated. The fraud's going to defeat you, so there's no reason to go out and vote. Well, that will defeat us. If our people who are conservative, who are for the 2 senators down there, if they stay at home because they think it's useless to go vote, then we actually defeat ourselves, okay? So I say all that to say, don't worry about the fraud. Let's get the votes out to overcome anything of that nature and let the litigation and the lawyers take care of the issue of fraud. Okay?
So as far as poll watchers, which, they're statewide Senate races, that's a big geographical area to cover. Are there enough poll watchers on the Republican side that are manning the polls to make sure that nothing fraudulent occurs, or that are going to have access, because that was one of the claims, was denial of access? What about that issue going into this election?
Yeah, there is actually litigation going on that's been successful in the past few days, in which some election officials were keeping poll watchers at a distance, and some of our attorneys have been in court fighting that, and I know that they were successful in Macomb County, and they were going to be on Thursday. They were going to be in another court yesterday. I don't know the result of that, but we are fighting that and seeing success there. The thing we always watch out for, too, is absentee ballots. And the absentee ballot count is not as great as the Democrats would have hoped for. It's still substantial, but we can overcome that if Republicans and conservatives turn out in the numbers that we hope that they'll turn out on election day. Okay? That's the key for us, is turning out the conservative vote, the vote that will support the Republican nominees.
Well, and which I try to be a forgiving, compassionate, benefit of the doubt kind of individual. The other side of me, though, wants to make sure anybody that's participated in a fraudulent process that, robbed my vote as an individual that wanted Trump in the office, I want to see him go to jail, to be quite honest with you. I want the legislators in Georgia to, stand up and step up and get this thing under control, because I feel like I've been disenfranchised as a voter who supported Trump. And those attorneys that you're mentioning, I don't have as much hope if Biden gets in office, which I'm still holding out for Trump. But if Biden gets in office, do you really think that the people that participated, that stole the election, are going to be held accountable for their actions? Or do you know if that's already currently taking place or in the process of taking place?
I think some of it's in the process of taking place. You're going to have a lot of attorneys, U.S. attorneys, change. If Biden is sworn in as president, I think the key for us, and once again to point to the importance of the election in Georgia, is if we lose the Senate and the Democrats control the presidency, the House, and the Senate, I'm very much concerned that they would nationalize the elections, which means that rather than states having laws to regulate the elections, there would be federal laws that regulate, and they could mandate mail-in ballots in every federal election. Well, if that occurs, you know what's going to happen. To be clear, an absentee ballot like we have is not a mail-in ballot. A mail-in ballot is one that is sent out to every registered voter, whether they live there or not, and they go out unsolicited and then they're returned. So I'm concerned that if we lose the Senate, watch out for what Nancy Pelosi wants to see, and that's mail-in ballots throughout the United States. Okay, but let me say this too of Georgia. I'm proud. I'm always proud of our legislature, and I think that y'all have done things to make certain the legality of elections, the voter ID, and I think that could be strengthened some to get rid of the certificates. But I'm a little discouraged that the legislature in Georgia has not changed the residency requirement before you're able to vote, and those issues. I think that Republican-controlled states should be doing everything that they can to protect the vote so that it doesn't minimize my vote and your vote. And that's where I thought the Texas lawsuit was very well placed, because states that allow corrupt voting minimize the vote, our votes in Arkansas and other states that have good voting laws, okay? And I thought that was well placed. I did not think that, I thought the U.S. Supreme Court should have taken that issue up and considered that issue as well.
That is, yeah, and that is disappointing, but it's going to be more disappointing, as you mentioned, if people don't show up and get out and vote and try to neutralize some of this. And, you know, if we
That's right.
hold the Senate at all costs, then, of course, I'm being a little bit transparent here. I'm not so mad at the crooked Democrats, because you expect them to be crooked, as I am at the never Trumpers that, you know, jumped off the bandwagon and helped potentially Biden win. My dissatisfaction, disgruntledness is directed more toward those of our own party that betrayed us than I am toward the Democrats, who I expected to do what they did, and they've done it. So
that's well said. That's well said. That's right.
That's a little hammer tone going on there. So I've only got about 3 or 4 minutes left. What is it too late for folks to send money down to the Georgia's race? I mean, would $100 or $200 at this point make any difference, given the fact that the election is Tuesday?
But you need to do it online so that they know what's coming in. You would go to nrsc.org/donate. That's the National Republican Senatorial Committee.org donate, and make a donation. It's never too late. But let me say this. We can win by not having the overwhelming amount of money needed. We've won in other states this year. We are being outspent. The Hollywood liberals are beating us over the head with their money. But prayer and make a contribution if you can. Support Purdue and Loeffler, and let's see if we can't carry this to victory on Tuesday.
Give me that website again one more time.
nrsc.org/donate. Make a contribution. Any amount will make a difference down there. But I would do it. You can't mail it. You need to make it online so it gets there quickly.
Well, that's what I've done. What I'm going to do is online. I want to encourage anybody that's listening. Here's what I don't want to have happen. I don't want to wake up Wednesday morning, and know that the Senate was lost because didn't do something to help out. B, I don't want to wake up on Wednesday morning and say, man, I wish I would have sent some money in, because you never know, what the difference maker will be. But you mentioned prayer a while ago, and I'm a firm believer God appoints people to their position. He takes them out. That's in the Bible. But I also think God wants us to try to represent the values that we want to have governing over us, because if we don't do our part to make sure people are elected that are going to share the values that are aligned with what God wants us as a nation to be, it's kind of like the watchman. If you don't sound the cry, then the blood's on you, and I don't want blood on me because I didn't do my part.
There you go.
All right, 30 seconds or less. Any final words that the great Doyle Webb wants to share with Arkansans?
I appreciate you having me on. I would tell Arkansans, we've got a great legislature. Stay in contact with them. They may not always vote the way you would want them to, but remember the Reagan rule that if someone votes 20% different than you want them to, they're not your 20% enemy. They're your 80% friend. Let's march forward. We've changed Arkansas, and let's continue to change Arkansas for the better. Thank you.
I mean this wholeheartedly. We wouldn't be where we are if it wasn't for Doyle Webb's leadership over the last 12 years. And I know Lord's going to use him in a great and mighty way, and we count you a friend and an ally. And thank you and Barbara for dedicating your lives for the last 12 years to help us get where we are. We'll try not to let it slip away either. So All right, my guest this hour has been Doyle Webb.
101.1 FM, The Answer. KDXE FM, Kamak Village, Little Rock. A Salem Media Group station. 101.1 FM, The Answer.